What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. We are going to be doing some work in progress. After yesterday's stream, we spent a lot of time just priming things. Today, during my lunch break, before I took a little nappy nap, I went ahead and sealed a lot of the stuff with Mod Podge, and I'm leaving a couple of things unsealed with Mod Podge just as an experiment. Looking forward to getting this cranking. As you can hear, my kitten is already, my snowflake is deciding to yell and raise hell. She knows it's live stream time. She's excited. Um, but yeah, I'm getting ready to do that. So I'll let you guys start popping in. I appreciate you tuning in for this live. If you haven't already, please make sure you click that like button. That does help, puts this video in front of more of an audience, gets us some more friends, gets us some more people in the chat, people sharing ideas, and people having conversations. That's what I am about. That's what I love to see. I'm doing all right on this Wednesday. I've had a lot of liquid to drink today. I've taken it easy on my throat as best I could. Couple of cough drops in me, and we're getting there. We're getting ready to go. So looks like people are starting to show up now. We'll turn the chat on. How we doing today, guys? I am getting ready to go ahead, like I said, and start on this weathering. Now, initially, I was going to do this as a yellow. I think that we can come up with a better color. I think we could maybe come up with some creative options. Snowflake, yes, ma'am. I am in the middle of a stream. I love you though. You're very cute. She's a good cat. So what I'm thinking is we can take a look through some colors. We'll throw some ideas out there. Um, I even might try a tape pattern on here. Maybe put some caution stripes or something, just something to differentiate it from Kyber case. Maybe it's a repurposed Kyber case. Maybe it's used to transport goods and items. Who knows? So that's what I've got in store for this. I have some Jason Jensen pieces here, some diorama accessories here as well that are up here on the docket to get painted. Um, yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to get cracking on this. I'm going to pull out some colors that I think might do well on this. So I want to rule out oranges. I just don't want to do oranges. I don't want to do reds, and I don't want to do yellows. So those colors are out. I've got some blues. I've got some pinks. Closer to, I guess, pastels would be the right phrasing for that. So I've got some blues, some pinks, some verdigris colors, some closer to neon colors as well that we could try. Some really grimy washes too that we can hit this with when we're all done. But I'll bust these colors out. I'll take a look at them. We'll discuss and see, what we're willing to do from there. But let's get these cracking here. So for some of my options, like I said, I've got greens and I've got blues and I've got a mix of the two. And I've got that nice pink there. I think that could be pretty good. But I'll just show you those colors, let you guys take a look. All right. And see, sometimes I can't see the chat. So what I do is I utilize my phone. So I promise I'm only being a slightly rude host who's looking at their phone while they're supposed to be, entertaining company. But I hope you'll forgive me because I want our friends to make it in here and come and visit and see what we've got to say. Oh, look at that. Okay. All right. So, um, last night we talked about, oh boy, what did we talk about? We talked about robots. We talked about um, painting. We talked about the city of Salem. We talked about Marvel. We talked about, anything and everything. It was a great stream, and I want to continue that on today. I want to get some of these pieces painted up, get them looking good, get them lived in, and world used. So I hope you're joining me on this journey. Very excited about that. Welcome, welcome. I see we have some people coming in. What we are doing today, as I've gone over, I'll probably say it for a third time just because people are filtering in and I love to talk. We're we're going to be painting up some of the things that we primed on yesterday's stream and the day before. Those are ready to go. Like I have this Diorama Accessories Kyber crate. I have some Jason Jensen stuff up here. I have one of the last one of my barrels that I need to get painted. This one for sure is going to get painted up red. So I'm excited to get pushing on that. And I'm just harassing everybody. Have I looked at the counter? Looked at counter. I'm not sure what that means. Looked at the counter. Like the counter that I'm working on? Is there a spider or something? I don't know. 8.8 thousand likes for what? Something that I did? That's strange. Your likes and views counter. I don't know. Like on this live stream right here. Just so people know what I'm on about here. Yeah, I don't. That can't be right. That absolutely can't be right. I mean, I'll take a look over on the old YouTube on the actual stream, but not sure why that would happen. No, I've got 3 likes and 917 subscribers. Must be a glitch or something. But either way, I'm glad there are some folks here, and I'm gonna get started. So earlier I held up these colors, and I've got just tagged you a screenshot. I'll have to take a look at that. These are the colors that I'm thinking. One of them will be for this crate, and we'll do some dry brushing and make things pop. But it's a Kyber crate. Figured that would be a good way. Taking a look here. Yeah, that's got to be an error. I see it. Strange. Hey, what's going on, pirates? I almost used the Whip Wednesday, but I didn't want to take from you. I didn't want to steal that, so we're calling this, weathering Wednesday or something. But at this point, guys, I am leaning towards doing the dry brushing. Thinking about starting with this blue. This is a light turquoise, and then I will go up to probably. See, I think I could do a little bit more exciting with this. So I think we'll start with blue gray. We'll go off of Toxic Mist, and then we'll do verdigris, and then I'll take that verdigris color, and I'll mix the littlest bit of white with it, and I'll start dry brushing the high points and make it pop. So I'm thinking those are the colors, and then we'll do a couple of like grody washes on it if we need to. We'll chip it up with some silver. And I just thought that this view might be a little better, might help you guys see what I'm doing. really need to get a wireless headset. But beyond that, then this bad boy will get painted red or maroon, closer to a maroon. We'll do another white lid or maybe a black lid. Who's to say? But gentlemen, ladies, we are in the middle of a business transaction here. The dogs are playing. They've been sleepy dogs all day, so I'm glad they're getting some of that energy out of their system. Is anybody else working on some dry brushing and some weathering today? I'm just going to use this as my well, I'll use this paper plate that I've been using as a palette anyway. And I know what you're saying. Hey, Famine, yesterday you didn't have a headset. Well, today I do have the headset. So, this is where we're at in life, kids. So, like I said, we're going to start with this model color Vallejo blue gray. And place that right there on the thing. Actually, I'll give that a little bit more of a shake. And sorry, Anthony, I've been showing your post here. Say hello to Pirates. He's just about to start video editing. Up to your knuckles in green stuff and xenomorphs. That sounds like a mess. All right, so I'm going to first thing I'm going to do is let this cat out because she's not going to stop meowing at me unless I do. Give me 2 seconds. The door is right past the table. Also, if you're a losty, I got this shirt from Youth Energy. I love it. I'm not playing in and out, man. Thank you. That could be the title of a B movie. That is true. So, like I said, got this on here. I'll use this brush. Just debating on if I want to start with a dry brush. Yeah, I think I'll start with a dry brush. This will probably take me a little bit longer, but I think it'll be worth it in the end. One of the reasons I like using these paper plates is one, I usually use recycled paper plates. I don't want to use this brush though. Normally I use recycled paper plates, so that's a start. That helps with the savings. All right. But also, it's like if I make toast on a plate, I'll put all the dust and debris off the toast and then blow the plate off and just set it aside. If you're going to paint something really finicky, like a miniature or something, I wouldn't do that. But for what we do, or what I do at least, absolutely. So for the uninitiated, dry brushing is when you put the littlest amount of paint on your brush and you take it damn near all the way off. And then with what little bit of paint is left, because your brush is almost dry, you go over and over and over areas on the item that you're painting, and it slowly deposits them and builds up almost like a, I guess you would say almost like a spray paint type effect, almost a naturally weathered look without without too much effort. It's great effect, great value for very minimal effort. I use, as I said yesterday, $1.25 makeup brushes for dry brushing. It's cheap, it works, and they're a value for $1.25. I've had mine for a while. I clean them, I dry them, I fluff them so that they are very useful. And I'm just really careful with like what I utilize them on. And that, like you can see, there's just a little hint of that pigment on there. And that's what I'm just going over this part over and over and over again, and I'll sneak up on it. I learned that from Frank Ippolito. he's one of the main members of Tested, but he also has I think it's Thingergy, which is their studio. They did some of Moff Gideon's armor in seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. They've done a lot of effects work for a lot of things that we've all seen and we appreciate. And one day Frank was teaching Norm how to paint something, and he mentioned sneaking up on it instead of just slapping the paint on. And ever since then, I've kind of utilized that when I do my dry brushing, is I'm comfortable sneaking up on it. It's not a race. I'm not against the clock for a client to do this. This is strictly for myself. So I'm not going to cheat myself out of the time that it takes and the essentially minimal effort. Because again, I'm just dabbing that brush there, taking most of the paint off, and then going over and just keep doing this. And the great thing about this is there's so many recesses and stuff, so that as it's hitting the high points, it's leaving those completely alone. So it really sells how deep and how detailed this 3D model that has been cast and printed really is. See, and how it's just, I'm sneaking up on it. It's not going to be like a super solid color. It's just going to get there over time. And Anthony, I'm glad that you're connecting with people in the community. There's a lot of good eggs here, especially the people that come to my streams. The people that turn up and support day after day. Always appreciated. Never expected, but always appreciated. And I recognize that I don't always stream at times that people are able to participate. So, excuse me, with the time frame that I've provided, I hope that people can turn up to these streams. And Tuesday is certainly my best streaming day. I know Wentzilla is going to start streaming on Monday. Shout out to Wentzilla. I know we have the World Makers Consortium show every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Rad Toys YouTube channel. That's something that you guys, I'm sure, have checked out before. Plenty of members. We have a lot of crossover audience, which is what I love to see. I love to see the same familiar faces, and I like when new people come in that are like, "Oh, I caught you on the show," or somebody told me to check you guys' show out, and I happen to find your page. Like, I love that shit. Like, please, if you share it with your friend, share with your friends, share with your followers on social media. Let them know that there's this place that you come to and you get free education and get to chat it up with some pretty cool people. And speaking of helping the channel, if you'd like, I do have a Ko-Fi there. I have two things set up on there. One is like a regular donation of a Ko-Fi, which is $3. I think that's the max out my Ko-Fi will ever be, which buys me a coffee. And trust me when I say it's either a coffee or a Zoa, and it works. Never expected, but it is appreciated if you do. And I also have some free wallpaper in there that I had made up with concept art of Gimmick as a cyberpunk city versus some of the other designs that I had. I just really thought that design popped. So I made that as an available paid download. And I say that with quotation marks because the cost is $0.00. So it's free if you want it for your phone or maybe a work computer or a laptop or something. Maybe you want to put it on your Roku. I don't know how to do that, but I'm sure you could figure it out. But I thought I'd make something like that available as just a simple thank you to so many people who have helped me, help the channel, help me on other projects over there on Ko-Fi, and people that want to support what we're doing over here. Because the more I can stream, the less I have to focus on other pursuits. I can throw more time into this, keep making more videos for you guys. I don't think it'll happen soon, but it would be nice to come a day that there were enough donations through Ko-Fi or Patreon where maybe I could do this more than part-time as a thing. Maybe I could start producing these videos and making content for you guys that you want to see, but that's a faraway dream. Is that the Vero link? No. Nope, it's the one that's scrolling across the screen, unless I'm misunderstanding that. Vero. No, Vero is the social media platform that kind of just flopped, like sincerely, really, 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 really flopped. When Instagram started favoring videos over images, people created pages over there. So I went and claimed my name, set up the page just in case, because I didn't want somebody, piggybacking off of whatever measure of success that I had there. So I don't want them to, snatch the name of Famine Studios, especially since I have to fight, scratch, claw, and bite to get the name here on Instagram because there's somebody in Russia who has a clothing line that they took some pictures for in America, and they have that page and they haven't been on it in about 4 years, and Instagram will not alert them that the page has been there. I've been fingers crossed, been waiting for the day that Instagram announces if you haven't used your page in X amount of years that they'll clear the name, because I'd like to get the name that I have assigned to all my social platforms. And if I do get to do this as a career eventually, making these types of videos, doing these art projects to help teach people how to do them and also make cool shit for the community that people can see and teach people how to do it on their own, that would be dope. And I would be able to, copyright the name so that nobody makes off with the efforts that we put in. And like I said, I am just sneaking up on this, and now you can see it's starting to pick up that color. It's starting to hit those high points. And it's actually, the camera makes it seem a little more blue and a little less green gray, which it's greener and grayer over here. And that is something I always recommend you do when you're painting a prop or you're painting something large and substantial, is to take a picture of it with your phone or get it in front of a camera so you can see how the digital lens picks it up. It looks like two different colors to me. Here in my eyes, it's a green gray, closer to the bottle. On the camera, it's got colors that are closer to the toxic mist that I'm holding here, but obviously it's not going to look like that. So just wanted to share that, get that idea out there. And if you ever are making a prop or something and you just can't nail the colors, go and take a look at the actual prop. Go to like the Prop Store of London's website, go onto the replica prop forums, websites that are Film Fanatic websites, and look, they're pretty garish. They have to paint them pretty substantially, like bright and awkward, and you would think like, Jesus, those look like crap. But when they get picked up by lens or digital lens, it tends to look different on camera. And suddenly it looks gorgeous because that's the way that the film gets picked up. And, that's one of those things. So when you're doing that, you just want to stop, take out your cell phone, maybe snap a picture of it just so you can remember and you can see how it's going to look through a lens. If you were asking about the Ko-Fi link, because I realized I was talking about the Ko-Fi, it's the one that's scrolling across the bottom there. And I think I'm just about good layering this on here. I did a little bit on the bottom, just in case I need it to stand up in the background of a shot or something. I can turn it and have it. Who knows? So, and that's the great thing about dry brushing too, is it happens so quickly and there's so little paint put on there that you can handle it and barely get any on your fingers. And then I'm just using this cloth to beat off. He said beat off. To dry brush off a lot of the residue from that paint before we switch to another color. It's not going to matter, but I think it helps. And I have this washcloth here that's basically just specifically for paint. Wipe out paint with it, clean the brush off. So now we're done with our blue-gray. Something I've been trying to get in the habit of, and I was talking about that on another stream, is putting my shit back when I'm done using it, so fingers crossed. Now we're switching over to the Toxic Mist, which is, I would say, a lighter, deeper blue than the verdigris that we're going to be using to go over this. And that's really going to brighten it up. We'll do a wash. Then we'll go back in, we'll pick out some details. Like there's a little control panel on here. And if you've seen, I love doing little shit like this. I love painting the little buttons. That's a Jason Jensen piece there. I love painting the little buttons with the different colors that show like it's on or it's doing something. It just adds, to me, it adds value to the item that you're doing. It adds production value. And it's cheap. It's easy. It's cost effective. You literally take a paint pen or paintbrush, Q-tip, whatever you got. I prefer personally to use a paint marker. Makes my life 1,000 times easier. And just take that paint marker and hit those points, make those keypads pop. All right. Now right here, I'm just using the brush to gently hit that. And it's already starting to like brighten up the edges and pull that color forward. Starting to hit a couple of places where maybe the dry brush before didn't get, but also it's like lightening up those edge lights, almost like neon. I guess that's the best way I would describe it. It almost gives it a neon effect, like maybe somebody was airbrushing and they wanted that color, that effect to show up. And really, it's just all about hitting those high points, taking your time, taking the paint off the brush, using that platform or like I use a paper plate, whatever your palette is, to go ahead and Chris with his work. Well, thank you. I am a big soft teddy bear until I'm angry, and then I'm a angry soft teddy bear. I promise that'll never happen again. And, you know, like I said, I'm just hitting all these points and it makes it stand out even more. Like you see in the edges, it's starting to come together to what I want. Just like the Beatles say, you know, come together right now over me or something. I wasn't a huge Beatles fan. Just hitting the ends. No. You can continue to talk about me and not Jason. You know, I'm just saying. But Jason does come off as a big teddy bear, but we won't tell him that. No, he's truly one of the friendliest. Just not only the friendliest people in the community for the sci-fi end of things, but also the model railroading, and just a genuinely kind and genuine person. He, you know, is who he says he is. He's a great talker. He explains things, makes things that people want to see, makes world building fun. I haven't been interested in model railroading really since my grandfather passed away, because that was sort of his thing that he and I did. But I tell you, watching Jason work on stuff, a lot of those skills, and I had said it when we did the interview over on Toy Domination with Jason, where Dom was kind enough to invite me as the guest host to fill in for Joe. But like a lot of the tips and tricks that you get from model railroading and watching people build model railroads and scale building models applies. It works on 118 world building. You know, you can make some really cool shit and learn to weather and learn how to paint, learn how to fake scale. Like that's one of those things that blows my mind every time he does it, where he uses a different size in model railroading as like background buildings and things like that, and it totally looks like you're just farther away and they blend right in. And that's a skill that I have yet to learn. One day I'm sure I will figure out how to make scale paintings for backgrounds and stuff, but that is one thing that I always struggled with my artwork, is scale of shapes and scale of putting things in the distance to make them appear like they belong, but also make them smaller. Best way I can describe it. So that's now after the toxic mist has gone over it. Next, we're going to hit it up with the verdigris. So I'll put the toxic mist away. Force perspective, yeah. I think the first time I heard about force perspective and like what it was actually in a fan film. I think it was in a trailer for a Robin movie. Yeah, it was like a Robin film, and Batman was dead, and they were on a golf course, and they used a statue that was like this big and filmed it as a forced perspective, so it looked like it was a statue at a cemetery. And then I was watching the behind the scenes stuff, and they mentioned that, and I was like, oh, well, goddamn, I had no idea. So since then, I've been fascinated with it. And when I was doing photography in school, I tried, but it's like you really got to understand what you're doing to get it right. And I didn't put in the time um, to learn how to do that. So that's always been something outside of my wheelhouse that, you know, has eluded me. And it is for lack of trying. So I only have myself to blame on that one. Okay. That's awesome. And now we've got that verdigris on there on those edges. One more thing I think I'm going to do is, as I sit here looking at it, I have this Kraken Skin green, right? And I'm just going to dry brush maybe 2 passes, but I think it'll be one pass across there. Just a little bit on the brush. And actually, I'll do one more. I'll use a smaller brush. Like I said, just take as much of that paint off as I can, and then just go and hit on these edges. Dip that paintbrush in, take most of that paint off, and just keep going in and hitting those edges. And for me, I don't know how well it's showing up here, but it almost looks like, yeah, that's picking up. It's almost like it's object source lighting, which I'm not terribly great at. I have been practicing on little pieces of paper, little pieces of scrap material here and there, but I can almost bet that if we do white right after this, that it would pretty much help cement that glow. But I'm just going to do what I'm doing right here. So there it is with those edges hitting that color versus not. And I like that. It makes it pop. It doesn't overwhelm the blue, but it adds something to it. So I think I'm just going to stick doing the one. Like I said, I'll do one coating of it, and I'll just keep hitting these high points. And of course, I will go back and I'll dry brush silver on the lock clamps or whatever they're supposed to be. Guessing that they're lock clamps. So you had sent me the family photo of the project that you were working on, Anthony. Is that also tied into your epoxy, your green stuff all over your hands and xenomorphs everywhere? There we go. And again, we're just hitting the high points. And I'm digging the way that this is starting to appear, especially since there's such big spaces of no green and it's that blue. That's badass. I just saw Craftsman put up a video making tubes, he called them buku hoses, and I gotta be honest, they do look pretty buku. But I kind of want to try that out with some green stuff. I just don't have any molds to make the hoses, but sculpting with green stuff is something that I was afraid of until this year, and I tried it when I made my custom head for my avatar, and since then I've been super happy and unafraid to use it. I like the product; it's really good, and I've heard that there are awesome ways to like mix it with other things, like mix it with milliput, so you make what's called grilliput or grilliputty, and it's part green stuff, part milliput, and it's easier to work with. I haven't gotten to do that yet, or they say it's easier to work with. I haven't gotten to do that yet, but I would imagine that's pretty cool for that task. All right. Okay. So got that. We're going to let that dry for just a couple of seconds here while I clean these brushes. You know, there's not much on there, but it's always good to get as much of the paint pigment off of the brush. That way, when you go to do the next thing, nice. So she's not the one in the tank going, kill me. What's going on, Audi? How are we today? Different mediums, more clay-like, less like sleep putty. Got it. So again, that's what she's looking like now. On my end, those brighter colors are more of a green, but I'm happy with it no matter what. So like I said, I've cleaned up my brush, gotten that out of there. There's still a little bit of green pigment on there. Let's work that out. Excuse me. I keep burping. I had a burger, like a beef burger, not like a McDonald's burger or anything, and I only ate half of it. And a few onion rings. I shared the onion rings with my grandmother because they were huge. Like I guess I'm a smaller onion ring guy, and so I shared those with her. But I guess the onion rings are giving me heartburn, so I can cross those off the list of things that I will be ordering for myself. But that's okay. It just sucks when you already have a sore throat and you start burping, or you get like a little bit of heartburn. Not fun, but tis what tis, right? Nice. Just grab the extra cat hairs that seem to have attached themselves to everything I own, which is fine because I love them cats. I love their hair. Yeah, I'm a smaller onion ring guy. Allows me to have more onion rings per, or not more onion rings, but a smaller bite of onion ring per burger. If I'm doing the whole food sharing, allows me to give away more to somebody else. So we're gonna make this. I'm gonna do dry pigment, I think. Yeah. So here's something I don't think I've done on the channel other than like briefly show it off. I have some chalk pastels that I use for weathering, and I keep them right here. So I'm just going to fish those out. And they are just a set of pastels, chalk pastels. Ah, well, I mean, what if you ate a calzone? Because then the cheese would be inside of the bread. I know that's not the same thing. It's just me being kind of a smart ass. So I have a brush that I like to use that I cut and trimmed and flared it out on the table and banged it a few times. Probably work better with a makeup brush, honestly. But I have on the back, I put a like a scuffed up piece of material there, and I use the back of it to just go like this, and it loosens up some of the pigment on the clay. And then I come in with a little brush, and I pick it up, and then I just take the pigment, and we'll start down at the bottom because I'm not sure how I want to do this, but the bottom is the best place to start. and that goes for several things, but maybe there's kids watching, so I'm talking about butt stuff, kids. Um, I set the audience for this for you know age appropriateness. So like that automatically is making it look better. It looks like it's been sitting in some dirt, a little bit dusty. We do like that. I'll come in here into these recesses and just apply some of that down in there. Go back, push that together, tap it on there. And that to me is just showing moisture collects in an area, maybe down there towards the bottom of that. Put a little in there, and it's starting to sell like this thing has been sitting somewhere. It's been used. It's been in the world a couple of times. And again, I just used the back where I kind of scraped it up, and then I go in with the brush, put the little pile together, tap my brush in there a couple of times so it's on, and put a little there, a little bit there, maybe in that around there, because hand oils and stuff. And don't be afraid. I'm a mad person when it comes to like working with paint and stuff. If you ever see me do prop work and you watch some of my older videos, you'll see me just use my hands and my fingers. They're acrylic paints. It's chalk. It's past. It's not going to kill you to get it on your fingies. So no need to be afraid of that. But I try and be a little more wary of when I'm doing that. But if you ever watch some of my older videos, you'll see me go crazy and like just get in there and smear things, because that's the number one thing that you have the most control in of your body is your paws. And I'll probably do 3 colors, maybe 4. Not sure yet, but I'm just picking out spots where I want to indicate some rust has, built up. And it's just slowly. This is the unweathered side, weathered side. It's subtle, but it's there. And that's why again, I talk about, like Frank Ippolito says, sneak up on these colors. It's what I'm doing here. I'm sneaking up on it. I'm not just lopping it on there and hoping for the best. Taking my time. I'm getting into the areas that I want it. I want it to be, rusty in certain spots. Like right now, I'm just tracing carefully, tracing the seam line that's there for how this thing opens and closes, and just weathering it around it just a little bit, so that because that's where people grab things and handle it, and you leave your oils, and if it's humid or dirt gets stuck there and it just builds up, and then the next thing you know, you've got a spot where there's a little rust spot. Maybe you hit it with some uh, you know rust inhibitor or whatever, but it's done its job. And then there's actually a little bit of an imperfection in the cast. I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but it's right there, a bunch of pits. I'm actually going to take this, the brand, um it's called, I went to Joann's and looked for chalk pastels, and this was the only brand that they had. And I've had these for like 3 or 4 years, and that's how much I've used off of them. I actually used this to do an entire costume piece. That's how far you can go with this powder. So you just want to look for chalk pastels. I get this variety here because pretty much you've got your oranges, your browns, and your blacks, and then you can use your weird like yellows and shit. Throw those in, and you'd be surprised how much more it makes things pop. And I got a message from Bjorn in case anybody was looking for him at his tent. And just sending a reminder message to my girlfriend. The AEW is about to start. So also you can see here, I went in these, I'm going to have to start over. So I went into the recesses there and there because those could be often forgot about places, but especially since it's so dark and shadowy, the way I did the dry brush, the rust really stands out. Lose the shovel. Yeah, don't make sure you leave the shovel so he can cat hole if he needs to use the bathroom. And get that right in those recesses there. And also something I do, I don't know how well it translates on camera, but I'll rotate the brush just to be sure in certain spots that it's not the same repeating pattern, even if it's not noticeable. Somebody who spends a lot of time looking at movie props and stuff like me, you will see when someone starts using the sponge on a product to make it look like something or like do weathering, you'll see they're not rotating the sponge and you'll pick that pattern up. Your eyes will be drawn to it. And once you see it, it'll never go away. So I try and be conscious of that a little bit when I work, and you'll see me rotate my brush. You'll see that when I do brush things that are going to have brush strokes that I can't avoid, is I'll hit them from multiple directions just to ensure that it's not a discernible, consistent pattern. And right now, if you'll give me 2 seconds, I'm also going to set my TV to AEW. And I'll be right back. Give me like 2 seconds. I'll even do this. I'll go ahead and I'll make the little thing go 30 seconds. That's all I need. Less than. And we're back. See how I did that? And hopefully the television isn't too loud, right, guys? I'm not blowing your ears out, and I've got that nice music playing for you. I say nice music. It's music. That's for sure. Bjorn, were you having something good for dinner? Right here is an instance where I built up a little bit much in that one pocket right there, but looks realistic enough not to care. Get that in there. And so that is going to be, after I hit this bottom edge, the first pass of this orange color that I'm using, the rustiest, dustiest color. There we go. And that's starting to pull a little bit of detail there. Now, the next color I'm going to use is, I think I'm going to go ahead and try out this, whatever this color is here. It's lighter than this orange that we were using. It's closer to a yellower orange, closer to mustard than it is to a tangerine, if that makes sense. And again, I'm just using that roughed up back of the item on the back of the brush. I've loosened that all up, and now I just take this little guy and bring it into a pile, tap the tip in, and I'm going above the line of the rusty color on the bottom before I go below the rusty color for anything that's going down. Because this could be rust, it could be dust. I don't know. It's weathering, right? It's weathered pigment. And we got the color starting to show up on that blue and green and make it world worn. Just the tip, just to see how it feels. No, Bjorn, these are actually, well, yes and no. They're acrylic, my goodness. They're chalk pastels. And that's what I'm using right now. And right now I'm using the next brightest color that I want to apply just in areas. And also I'll hit areas too where it's not already. And now I'm going to turn this way so I can get the other side. There we go. Yeah? What do we think? Did you watch the first episode? I know the first episode's a long one because it was a 2-part episode and they ran it into one on the film DVD release, the home box office release. Home box office. How old am I, guys? That my girlfriend gives me, grief and kind of teases me a little bit, and it's all in good fun. But like, I was raised by my grandparents, so I say shit like television and bicycle and things like that. So, but every once in a while, I'll say something that surprises the shit out of me, like home box office. I never say home box office. Like, where did that come from? Now I'm doing just a little bit here, and then I'll go there and there. Nice. Oh, you got the Zoe. Good. Like I said, to me, the only thing those figures are good for is the accessories. And diehards that are like really into collecting that stuff. Like I had all the Funko Pops, and they just had no intention of ever releasing the other 3 main characters from the show. So we got Jane, Zoe, Wash, Kaylee, and Mal. We didn't get. I get it, but like they didn't have Inara, they didn't have Shepherd Book, they didn't have River and Simon. No Jubal early. Like it was very strange. They just made them and then kind of moved on for the Funkos, and that really bummed me out. So when I got rid of mine, I figured I'd rather go get pictures with the cast and crew and have those things signed than say, get my Funko Pop signed. But that's entirely up to the person with their items that wants to get it signed or not. I only have 5 or 6 Funko Pops left. Couple of Blade Runner ones. I've Rutger Hauer's Roy Batty. I have a CM Punk one. Harley Quinn, Heath Ledger's Joker, and a couple of the Star Wars Mandalorian ones. Okay, so that's starting to do that now. Now I'm gonna go for the black, or as close to black. It's like a charcoal, and that one I'm gonna take that black powder. And I'm going to come in here and just really work that into this grating. So it really shows like maybe that's where the moisture gets pressed out and it kind of blends in with the other colors, but it still keeps it dark. So you've got that on your end and that on your end. So, and then I think as a last pass, I'm actually going to use this napkin here to clean some of that brush off. I will take a little bit of white. take that little white and then just in a couple of spots just to make it different coloring, different colorway, certain spots. And then I'm just tapping it with my fingers to make sure if there's any clumps of dust that's on there. And, if you're not going to play with this, handle it like, playing with your kids or whatever, you could leave it just like that. I'll seal it in a moment. But I'm quite pleased with that. So I think we'll do the silver dry brushing and the buttons next. But that was how Famine uses chalk pastels. It might not be the best way. It might not be the most efficient way. I don't know. Everything I learned about chalk pastels, I actually learned from Bill Duran and Jason Jensen. So those two people turned me on to using pastels for weathering. And that's that. So let's pick out a brush for the silver. I think this is going to be, the silver is going to be a twofold. I think one, well, no, it's going to be one brush. I'm going to go ahead and use one of my miniature painting brushes. This is the Wargamer character paintbrush from Army Painter. If you're looking for the product code, it's BR7006. So if you're looking to get your own, I have one that's a little bit smaller and then some other ones that are smaller too. But this is the one that I use the most when doing 1/18 scale weathering and stuff. Yeah, so we'll go with plate metal. And that's, again, War Painter's plate metal. And these paints are so pigment heavy, which I appreciate. A little goes a long way. That's John Locke from Lost, my favorite show, from the first episode, from the pilot. It's one of those iconic scenes, and this is a shirt from a company called Youth Energy, and they do limited runs of shirts. And I happened to be very lucky and got in on the Lost run. Again, it's my favorite television show. A lot of the strangeness of the lore and gimmick comes from inspiration from shows like Lost. And so, if you've got 6 seasons, it's a hell of a ride. Like I said, it's my favorite show. And I'm painting this, and I'm just being careful to avoid the recesses that are already there, so I don't have to go back in and put a wash or a shadow. I'm just kind of using the areas that got that dry brushing on them as a base, as a marker to hey, apply paint here. But the areas where there's dark and there's pigment that maybe the brush isn't going to touch, I'm just leaving that alone so that stays there, and I have to do less work on cleanup after the fact. But for me, this is the best way to do the little details with the metal. It's after the fact. Might not be for everybody, and I certainly encourage you to find your own style, your own pattern of doing things. Not everything has to be the way Old Famine does. It's how we all learn. Yes, he is my ultimate favorite character from the show. All the way through the happenings in the series. I'm not going to spoil anything. We can do a Lost spoiler cast. I'll gladly do that another time. But he was my favorite character all the way through to the end. He made that show extremely interesting, and not many television shows have captured my imagination like Lost did. And it's very rare that I get that enthralled with a TV show that I turn up to watch it weekly. And that's what I was doing with Lost. I was watching every damn episode every time it came out. And I enjoyed it. Okay. Oh, see a little spot that I missed there. And for future streams, I will be implementing an overhead cam so that I can paint the way I normally paint instead of, trying to paint towards the screen. I don't disagree with you. I don't 100% agree. I think season 3 was the one. I think that was the best season of TV programming, just the way that everything unfolded. But that's how Old Famine likes it. So we going in here. We're hitting some high points again. I'm kind of just letting the dry brush tell me where to apply this silver for these buckles, locks, whatever they are, magnetic patches as they were. And I am using Shining Plate Metal from War Painter, Army Painter, War Paints, in case anybody wanted to pick this color up themselves. And hello to the new folks that just stopped in. I see we picked up some views. We're working on painting up some things that we had primed and doing some weathering as well, and just having fun with our toys and our accessories. Talking about TV, talking about movies, getting ready to start jabberjawing about pro wrestling in a minute if I'm not careful. So I'm watching AEW while I'm working and talking with you guys. Usually we watch AEW together, my girlfriend and I, but she is away. So looks like we're watching it separate, and I am getting some painting done while we do this. So that's those clamps on this side. I'm going to get the clamps on this side now. And I'm really digging how this is starting to look with the metal showing. I'll probably hit the hinges with a pigment powder, as a last, or maybe I'll do Nuln Oil. Maybe that's something they're so mechanical that they, have a little bit of squeeze out and need regular maintenance that much that they just keep them oily. Who knows? But right now I'm just enjoying the process. This is one of my favorite things about painting, is like just hitting things with paint and weathering it and making it look, real. Making it look lived in. Like, look at the difference, right? You've got the weathered up metal one, and then you've got the one with just the dry brushing on it that looks the same paint way. Like, that's the difference a world makes. Wait, makes a world of difference. That's the words that I wanted to use. Oh, man. And I'm really getting in to all the right areas, all the right spots. And again, just leaving some of the shadows that are already there, because the dry brushing showed me where the weathering would be, where the light would hit, where, silver paint needs to be shown, but not, unshown. Words are hard, guys. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Bang. Bang. Hit that one a little bit more. There we go. Cool. I guess one thing that I'll do, and you can get these crates from Diorama Accessories. Clean that brush off. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, just had it out, just used it. This smaller dry brush here. Take a little bit of that silver pigment, so that's on the brush. Take as much of it off as I want, and do these end grates. I'm just going to come in and hit them, kiss the edges, so that the silver shines a little bit. And that's very subtle, but it adds a little bit of pop. I think I'm going to add a little more to my palette here. And I know you're thinking to yourself, like, Famine, why aren't you using a wet palette? And I sometimes think that to myself, but I don't have the ambition to make one, and then I got to use it all the time, all of the time. So we got that. Again, just kind of kissing the grates in between those spaces there. The powder's already all down in them, so you're not really removing any powder. You're just reminding everybody what that's supposed to be in there, and that's supposed to be like a metal screen. At least it is on mine. I don't know what yours would be, but realism, just a little bit. A little bit goes a long way, in my estimation. Again, just a little bit on the brush. Get it in there. Hit the high points. You don't have to get it all the way in. You just want to get those spots where it stands out. All right, and I guess we can also hit those there lightly. We'll do those lightly. Beautiful. Here we are. See? It's just starting to add a little more detail, a little more importance to certain areas. And just more and more depth, more and more character to this item. And you can go as complex as you want, or you can go as simple as you want. You could have just dry brushed it a couple of colors, sealed it, and thrown a wash on there, and it wouldn't have looked terrible at all. It, would have looked great. But for me, certain things, I really love painting things. Like, I build a lot of shit just to paint it. Like, for me, that's the joy of doing things. So when I get something like this, that's a really cool casting, that's got a lot of detail that I can really pick out and play off of, hell yeah, I'm going to put a little time in it. Give it some character. And if I ever, utilize an actual digital camera instead of just using my cell phone for this type of thing, I'd probably pay off in droves that I did that extra work. And then right here, just going to follow that seam a little bit, add a couple of scratches with the what's left of the silver on the brush. Adds character. People peel things open, scratch at things, set things on top. And there's the rub too, is like, that when this is stored somewhere on the back of a ship or on the back of a truck or whatever, somebody's going to set their blaster on top of it. They're going to be dropping other containers on top of it, stacking things. So you're going to have more wear on the top, which is great, versus on the sides. And that's why I kind of went heavy with the pigment on the top, and then I just did a little dry brush silver that adds character. So again, you've got your top, and then your more colorful sides, your edges. Boom. So I guess now let's do the Nuln Oil now. Yeah, we're gonna do the Nuln Oil now. For those uninitiated, Nuln Oil is this magical juice that's produced by Citadel. It's expensive, and I say expensive where it's like $16 for the bottle. They've changed the bottle size too. And I always shake the shit out of it because it settles. And look at this bottle, says it was made in 2014. I've only had this bottle for like a year. So that's how long that sat on the shelf. I know, I'm sorry, it's not 2014. My last bottle I dumped in here because I prefer the taller pots. And it's basically a shade wash that goes in recesses and recessed areas. I open it up. After I shook it, you'll see there that it pools up there. And I utilize that little lip, I don't know if you're supposed to, for my brush and just let it collect on the brush. And then I take it almost like a pin wash and I just apply it to the areas where I think that there needs to be dark and oily in it. And again, we talked about maybe it would be here on these locks. So I'm just getting the areas where there's deep recesses and I'm applying that little bit of finish on there. And I'll show you guys on camera the difference between the two. One that's been washed and one that hasn't. So we've got no Nuln Oil. You know, looks pretty good. And then I've just put Nuln Oil on there, and you can see it sitting in the recesses over here. And it looks more world worn. And I'll just do another coating of a wash to get it in those little recesses. And there's so much sculpt detail. And that's why even just like a simple black wash would bring out a lot of stuff. But I like busting out the Nuln Oil for certain pieces, and I'm really proud of how this is looking. So I'm going to go a little bit further with this Nuln Oil and be comfortable using it. Hey, thank you for stopping by. Enjoy your dinner. If you're having a cocktail, have a cocktail on me. And I appreciate you tuning in. Enjoy your night. And get that all in there. Boom. All right, and I'm gonna guess I'm gonna pin wash. Yep, I'm using the Nuln Oil as a pin wash in the crack that is the I guess the open and closing part of this crate, the door. Just add a little bit of depth in there as it gets down in the crack. It'll settle in. You'll have that little tiny bit of sheen all down there. Beautiful. And so that's all down in there. It just darkens that up. So that is, we're going to call that done. No, that's not. We're not going to call that done. We need to finish the button control panel. Stuffed bell peppers. Nice. I haven't had a good stuffed pepper in a while. All right, so we've got this tiny little panel, right? I think our first step's going to be to dry brush all the buttons wet. And what that white is going to do is it's going to allow whatever colors we put on there to kind of pop brighter. So I'm using matte white. There we go. Just a little bit on that brush. And there we go. Starting to get that all in there. And it's just a matter of making sure that this rectangle is ready for paint. And there we go. Get that white off of that brush. So we've got that now. Give that a couple of seconds to dry. While that's drying, I'm going to start my base color on the barrel. Like I said, it's going to be a maroon, so I guess my base color should be a nice brown, nice warm brown. So we'll do solid brown. And also, we're going to close our Nuln Oil. Make sure it's closed. That's one of these things you want to do with all these Citadel products is make sure they're closed. And like I said, shake the shit out of them before each use. And sometimes I even shake them before I put it away, just so the stuff really gets mixed up. So let's take this brown here. Let's use the spot where I was painting red. A little bit more. And I will put in one drop paint container on the floor. One drop of Airflow Red for Vallejo Model Air. Gross. So one drop. There you go. Close that up. Put that away. Like I said, I'm trying to get in a better habit. And then I'll use one of my junk brushes. And I'll use that as a stirring mop. Stir that up. I'll actually go ahead and mop that color on. So I've got the barrel that we primed yesterday. We primed it in black, and I actually went in today and just used a nice thinned out Mod Podge and what is the brand? Eileen's super fast tacky glue. And I put that on there. I just went over it, like I said, gave it a nice coating of it, let it dry. And so everything's nice and sealed up. It's ready to accept paint. A little bit of an experiment for me because they're even so matte. If you guys know and you've used it before, matte Mod Podge, easy for me to say, is not really matte. It's closer to a semi-gloss than anything. It does have reflective properties. It does get shiny if you allow it to. But the protective properties of it, yeah. Maybe I'll do the bands white. Okay. And we are just, like I said, layering this brownish red underneath the red that I'm going to do. Just to add a little bit of richness underneath the color that we'll be putting down. That's something I've learned over the years. And I say over the years, I mean, I've learned this over years, is putting down certain base colors and base primers can cause the paint that's above it, especially if it's a nice thinner paint, like these are pigment heavy, but they're thinner paints that go on, causes them to appear differently than if they were to just go on, like, say, a black or a white. And certain times I want that effect, certain times I don't, but it's a great tool to know. So adding a richer, warmer color underneath it, it's a nice effect. And then going over it with the color, your mainstay color, especially if it's thinner, allows that to coat, to glaze over it, but also to let the richness of that other color out from underneath it. There we go. Now we're starting to get to the bottom of the item, the bottom of the barrel, as the kids say. Too tired to customize, dude. I feel you. This took and I'm not saying you're not disciplined, because you, just like me, you have a lot going on. You're a caretaker for a family member, like we've talked about on previous streams. Um, it's taken me a lot of discipline to get to making sure that I do at least one thing a day that helps me towards my goal of world building without burning myself out on the hobby on those days where it's really tough and I'm just completely tired and I don't want to do anything and I don't want to go forward. So kudos to you for having the self-awareness to rest when your body needs rest, and don't push yourself, because that'll burn you out on hobbies. Doesn't matter what the hobby is. It could be tennis, it could be hockey, it could be, collecting cards, it could be building model airplanes, it could be a million things. Don't burn yourself out for the sake of the hobby. All right, so we're going to jump back over to this guy. And I want to take my paint markers. I have a library of paint markers here. I actually need to restock. When I put my wish list up on Amazon, and I also put my wish list up for Christmas for my family and friends, I'm going to put some of these paint markers on there because they're really good. I like these Posca markers because you can push the button and it forces more paint to the tip and it writes like a paintbrush. The tips get pretty fine, so you can put dots and stuff on, but I think because these buttons are so small, I'm going to go with something a little smaller now that I look. And since I was going to start with red, I could go with this Posca, which has a nice tip. So I'm going to try that on one of the larger buttons. I'll just go. There we go. All right. And then the middle is going to have to be yellow, and I will use this because it is a larger section, but I'll just press the button and you can see where the paint comes in. It just flows its way down to the tip, just the tip, just to see how it feels. This one actually might be on its way out. Let's see. So did anybody know what that troll was last night that stopped in and was asking those weird questions? Like, was that somebody that, somebody recognized from the community or something? Just curious who was that bored last night that they decided they had to come pay me a visit and ask weird questions like that. Yeah, that bad boy's on his way out. I think that sucker's done. Well, no, wait a sec. And I'm certain that this is the least exciting live stream, but this is one of those important ones where it's, if you're learning and you're doing, sometimes you're going to be painting boring things and spending a lot of time doing details. I'm going to take the orange. I'm going to do the bottom row, bottom 2 rows that are different. And then I have a green that I like to use in here, but I'll use this one. Now, this one is a fine tip, so I can actually tap the buttons and get in the spaces. There we go. Yeah, I gotta have some yellow in there. Maybe blue. Blue. We'll use blue because that's looking too much like a Irish flag. Not that there's anything wrong with making your LED displays or push buttons look like an Irish flag, but I don't want mine to look like an Irish flag. I'm allowed that. So put that there. Go back with the red. I'm not liking that red. It's too orange, and the color underneath it isn't really doing it any favors either. This is the same color. So we go over here to the airflow paint because it's thinner. And just gonna, oh, I messed that up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will now see famine, not panic. Years ago, this would have sent me into a tizzy. So we're just gonna use this nice rag here to wick up as much of that red paint as we can. Womp womp. There we go. Womp womp. Okay. So now that I royally screwed the pooch on that, I'm going to give that a couple of seconds to dry. Go back in there with black paint over that again, and we'll fix it. And that's the great thing about paint. It's taken me years to learn. It is paint. You can fix it. You can paint over top of it. All right. So now that you all saw me make that embarrassing mistake, and it happens, and didn't I say that airflow paint was very runny? That's what happens. What I should have done is I have a pin for such a thing, a metal pin that I keep over there in a piece of foam so that I don't actually stab myself, or accidentally stab myself, I should say, and use that for doing like droplets and pinpoints of paint. But made a mistake. We're going ahead. We're fixing that mistake right now with some black paint. And once that's dry, we'll just fix it. So we're going to let that dry. We're going to stay right away from that. Now, this aforementioned red paint, which just almost caused me a bunch of trouble, I'm going to go ahead and use that to do a coating over this, like I said, it's going to bring that warmth through. I see we picked up a few viewers. How are we tonight, guys? My voice is starting to go, so I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to keep this up as far as the chatting portion goes. But I do appreciate everybody for coming in tonight and watching me paint while I watch wrestling and talk to you guys. There we go. And it's great because it's like it's going on as red as it is on the paper or on the palette, but as it's starting to dry, as I rotate this, because these thinner paints dry pretty goddamn quick, and as I turn it and it starts to dry, I can see that brown, that warm red brown that we created, the maroon, shining through. And I could have run this as a wash. I could have put a little bit of thinner in there, or a glaze, but it's so close to a glaze anyway. Like I said, as it dries, that warm color from underneath pulls through. Then we do some weathering on that. It gets in the recesses. So that's, again, you know me, I'm all about my recesses. I love my break. There we go. We're just brushing away. Because it's good and thin, I can go around it a couple of times just where it's any type of thickened up in areas that I've laid it down. Maybe I was just a little bit heavy with the brush. I just pull it again. It spreads it out nicely. All right, cats and kittens. Once I get this coating on here, what I'll do is I'll finish up that control panel for you, show you how that looks, and then I am going to call it a night as far as streaming goes. I think I need to give my voice a rest before work tomorrow. Probably eat a couple more cough drops and have some more hot tea. But I do appreciate everybody that tuned in. I appreciate you guys coming in, staying, hanging out. Not every stream is going to be exciting adventures, but the stream is here to watch again for those tuning in after the fact that saw that the clips were up or saw the thumbnail and thought this live stream looked interesting. I appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to subscribe, hit that like button. That always does help out the channel. It's not it's not a meme. It's not, just something that YouTubers say. Like it truly does help us. So please always consider that when you stop by for a visit. When you throw that like, it just gives that little bit of information to the algorithm. And that algorithm says, hey, let me show this to other people who also like these things. Why the algorithm is built like that, I don't know. I would just like my audience to see it. But if the algorithm wants to show it to other people because you guys like it, well, my goodness, like away. That makes the difference for the game, and so I appreciate that. I'm stippling here. Oh, well, thank you, Bjorn. I appreciate you saying so. I'm stippling here. It's twofold. It's going to add just the tiniest bit of texture for some dry brushing later and some washes, and also it's just breaks up any brush strokes in the pattern and gives a little bit of life to this. Okay. So that's the color. That'll dry up. You know what I will do is I'll flip it over and I'll just do the bottom ring in case I have it stacked on something and, you know, there's a little bit of overhang. At least there will be a little bit of the red showing. Okay, so we're back. We're using green. Big green buttons. Buttons over there. Okay, okay. Good stretches, doggos. Dogs are getting stretched. They're getting hyped. Their favorite wrestlers on the TV, and apparently it's Edge. Okay. Go. There we go. And then I'll use this for the red. We'll just be real careful. Good enough. Cool, cool. I'll make one of these middle buttons red just for visual interest. Not my craziest good work, but I think I can make this all right, all right. Okay, here we go. So I've got some buttons on there. That'll be good. I'll just powder that up a little bit, but otherwise, it is Adam Copeland. You are correct, Bjorn. There she is. That's all done. That's all done up. This guy, I'm going to do his lid and his control panel, and that'll be done. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I am going to drop out of here. Like I said, my voice isn't holding up as well as I thought it would. I hope you guys have an excellent Wednesday. Be sure to tune in to Toy Domination tomorrow. Dom has, you know, some great videos planned up for the season. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my sister. Thank you, Amber. I have a bit of a sore throat. I'm also getting heartburn from my dinner, so that's making it even better. So I am actually getting ready to dip off of the stream, but I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you are well. I hope your honeymoon was awesome. Congratulate my sister, everybody. She got married. It was very, very cool. Very nice wedding. Very beautiful wedding. Very good feud. My sister looked fantastic. So did Cowman. I'm talking to your Auntie Amber on a live stream here. Could you not? Cowman's excited. He says hello. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go. I hope you guys have an excellent day. I appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to like the video before you take off. Share this on your YouTube feed. Share it to your friends, social network, wherever you want. I hope you guys are well. I appreciate it. If you want to help the channel, I'll throw that scroll up here as I take my leave. There's the link to the Ko-Fi. It's ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/Famine Studios. Hope you guys are well. Be good. Too sweet me. Boom. Thanks for stopping by, guys.